Okay, ladies and gentlemen, last week we talked about solving different types of equations. Today we're going to take this to the next step, sorry, and deal with inequalities. Um, we've come across inequalities in the past, certainly you guys were introduced to inequalities in elementary school. And inequalities are your greater than and less than symbol. And again, we read them left to right. You look back and you think about the alligator always eating the greater number. So this would be the greater than symbol. This would be the less than symbol. Okay. And there's also the greater than and equal to and the less than and equal to. So if I had a statement x is greater than 3, that means that x can be anything that's bigger than 3. For example, it could be 4. Oops. No, that's not right. It could be 4. Could be 10, could be 100. Those are all acceptable choices for x because it is bigger than 3. Now, here's what you have to think about. Is the number 3 appropriate? Is 3 greater than 3? Well, in that case, the answer is no. Okay. But if I had the statement x is greater than or equal to 3, then 3 is an okay statement. We're going to come back to that in a second. So same thing's true with the less than signs. So if I had something like 10 is less than x, okay, so if I had x is less than 10, that would mean all numbers for x have to be less than 10, like 9, 0, -4 would all be appropriate. And again, here 10 would not work because 10 is not less than 10. But if I had x less than or equal to 10, then 10 is okay. Okay, one last thing I want to talk about that may be new. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be drawing these values on a number line. So, for example, if I have something like x is greater than 4, of course, we just got done talking about that does not include 4. So if I had a number line, that would mean I do not include 4. So what we do is we put a hollow circle at the 4. And since all numbers are greater than 4, you draw an arrow to the right because all these numbers are acceptable. 6 is greater than 4, 7 is greater than 4, but we leave the circle open when saying x is greater than 4. Okay, so let's take a look at another example here. Okay, so over here in this problem, I have x is less than or equal to -1. So that does include -1 because -1 is equal to -1. So in this case, I'm going to use a solid circle. That tells me that that number is included. So I'm going to put a solid circle at -1. And now I'm going to draw an arrow pointing to all numbers that make this statement true. So x is less than -1. So 0 would not be okay. So I wouldn't go to the right. Instead, I want to go to the left. So I'm going to draw an arrow going to the left. And this will all make much more sense as I do several examples. So we're now going to take a look at page 84 and 85. Now, if you have trouble printing these out, feel free to just copy them on a separate sheet of paper and you can kind of work from there, draw your own number lines and so on. Um, we're going to start off relatively simple, and it is going to get more complicated as the week goes on. So if you kind of understand what's going on, just bear with us for these first day or so as they get more complicated. So let's take a look at page 84. So here we have a bunch of number lines. We have a bunch of inequalities on the left side, and we want to graph what their inequality is stating. So maybe at the top of the page, if you have space, you could do something like greater than, less than. They have a hollow circle. Greater than, equal to, less than, equal to. Oops, they have a solid circle. So you can see in the example here, it's greater than or equal to, solid circle, greater than, equal to, solid circle. So we're actually going to go all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to do 5, 6, 7, and 8 with you guys, and then you guys can do the rest when we're done with the video. So let's quickly take a look at number 5. So first thing I notice is that it is n is greater than or equal to -2. So I know that that's going to be a solid circle. So come on over here to -2. So I'm going to put a solid circle at -2. Now, which way will my arrow go? Well, n is greater than or -2. So I want all numbers that are bigger than -2. So that's going to be numbers that are out here. All these numbers are bigger than -2. So I'm going to draw my arrow going this way. Okay, take a look at number 6. Number 6 says y is less than or equal to 4. So again, here it's less than or equal to, so I'm going to use a solid circle because it is less than or equal to, so 4 is okay. So I'm going to come over here to 4, put a solid circle there. Now, y is less than that, so that means I'm going to deal with numbers that are all less than 4. So that would be numbers going in this direction on this side of the number line. So I'm just quickly going to draw an arrow going that direction. Okay, number 7, here we have r is greater than 2/3. So this is just a greater than sign. So 2/3 will not satisfy this inequality. So I'm going to use an open circle at 2/3. So 2/3 is about right there. And you can see I included an open circle. So now I need to look at numbers that are greater than that. So greater than the numbers would be over here to the right. So I will draw an arrow going to the right. And then finally, the last one, x is greater than or equal to -1/2. So greater than or equal to means a solid circle. So find -1/2, that is about right here. And all numbers are bigger than x. X is greater than -1/2. So that means all the numbers that are bigger than 1/2 are this way. These numbers are smaller, so it would not go this way. So I want to go to the right. Oops. And draw my arrow going to the right. Okay, so you guys can do the rest of these, the first 4 on this page, as soon as we're done here. But now let's take a look at the next page, kind of the next step here. A little bit more difficult, but hopefully or certainly manageable for most of us here. So let's take a look at number 1. So now we're going to kind of build on what we talked about last week when we solved equations. So here we have inequalities. We have to solve these inequalities. Basically, we want to do the same thing. We want to get the variable by itself. So to do that, we're going to follow the same steps as we did for the equation sign. It's almost like you pretend like that's an equal sign. You just do the same thing. Now, tomorrow, Mr. Kuma is going to show you a little bit of a twist or a catch that's involved, but we'll come to that path tomorrow. So let's just take a look at number 1. I think once I do an example, you'll know exactly what I mean. So take a look at number 1. It's 1 is greater than 3 minus d. So again, I want to get d by itself. So again, I kind of treat it like an equal sign, draw my line. I know to get d by itself, I want to subtract 3 from both sides, subtract 3 from both sides. So that is -2 equals -d. Then divide both sides by -1. So, oops. You know what? I'm going to scratch that. We're going to skip number 1 because that's going to be involved in tomorrow's lesson. So never mind number 1. I'm not going to go back and edit that. So let's just take a look at number 2 then. Number 2, f minus 4 is greater than -2. So again, we are going to draw our line down the inequality. We're going to add 4 to both sides. So add 4. So f is greater than 2. So there is my final inequality, which is just like we did on the last page. You'll notice it's a greater than sign, so I need a hollow circle at 2. So I'm going to put a hollow circle at 2. And f is greater than that, so that means it's all numbers to the right. Because f, all those numbers have to be greater than 2. Okay? Okay, we're going to quickly look at 5, 6, and 7. Again, it's kind of the same thing still. Okay, so let's take a look here at number 5. Again, we want to get the variable by itself, just like we did last week. So kind of treat this like an equal sign. So I'm going to get g by itself, which means I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. So that's going to give me -5 is less than or equal to g. Now, I think one of the things that will make this easier on you guys is if you flip it so the variable comes first. So when you flip it and the variable comes first, you would just write this as g, and you got to flip the sign because g is greater than or equal to -5. Okay, so we want to get the variable on the left side, so we're going to flip it all, flip the g to the left side, as well as flip this symbol so that the alligator is following the g. See how the alligator is eating the g here? The alligator is also eating the g here. It just makes it easier to interpret what the statement is. So it's greater than or equal to, so that means a solid circle at -5. And then g is greater than -5, so that is all numbers to the right. Okay, let's take a look at 6. We're going to encounter the same thing where we're going to have to do a flip at the end because s is on the right side, but we'll get to that in a minute. So first of all, I want to subtract 3 from both sides. So subtract 3. So 2.3 minus 3 is a negative -0.7. So oops, is greater than or equal to s. Sorry about that messiness. Okay. So again, s is on the right side. I'm going to flip that. So to flip that, that means I'm going to flip the symbol and flip the s to the other side. So that's going to be s is less than or equal to negative -0.7. Okay, so find zero point 0.7 on your map, a negative -0.7, which is about right here, and it's less than or equal to, so I need a solid circle. Now, because I flipped it, it's a little bit easier to read. I know s is less than that, so it's all numbers to the left. Okay, and the last one we're going to do here together is take a look at letter number 7. So again, here we got to get d by itself, so I am going to subtract 3/4 from both sides. So subtract 3/4. So therefore d is greater than or equal to -1/2. Now d is on the correct side, so I don't want to switch anything. We like when the variable's on this side of the inequality because it's, again, a little bit easier to interpret what's going on. So it's greater than or equal to, so that means I need a solid circle at -1/2. So I'm going to find -1/2 here. So -1/2 is about right there, and again, it's a solid circle. So d is greater than that. So that means it's all numbers to the right because it's greater than. Okay. So I did some problems for you guys on page 84 and 85. You guys can do the ones that I did not do, all the remaining problems, and then take a picture and upload that to Mr. Como and myself. If you guys have any questions, again, feel free to email us or report to one of our office hours if you're stuck on anything. All right. That's it. Good luck and thanks.